Welcome to episode 4 of The View with Vertex. My next guest is somebody I've known for a good few years now. We first started speaking while I was doing some work with a charity called Calm, and we were trying to raise money for suicide awareness and prevention. As we were doing that, we got a lot of messages, a lot of feedback from people, and one of the people who got in touch with me was Graham. Graham has had a similar experience in his own life of losing somebody close to him to suicide, and he's bravely decided to come on to The View with Vertex to share his story. So without further ado, Graham, morning.
Morning. Finally got to meet you for the first time.
Yeah, we were just saying a couple of seconds ago. So me and Graham have known each other for a while over, social media and whatnot. We've exchanged many a phone call, WhatsApp message, LinkedIn inbox. First time we've actually got to meet each other in person this morning.
Yeah, it makes a change, doesn't it? So.
And only one day after, if I'm not mistaken, after Graham's 60th birthday. So,
yeah, travelling straight down.
Many happy returns, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
So we were saying, just before we kind of delve into, the story that we're really here to tell, kind of back to the beginning. So you grew up around Liverpool, leave school at 16. We've just had a look at some pictures of your kind of first job, which was the Royal Green Jackets.
That's the one, yeah.
So served a bit of time in the military. Father was a scaffolder.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was with Palmer's at the time.
Correct. So come out of that into scaffolding. Military didn't leave you behind, though, did it? Really, in a way, it kind of stuck with you.
Yeah, I think it always has done, to be honest with you, right through my career. I think that's why I've probably been where I have been over the good few years I've been working.
Yeah, it's kind of taught you that resourcefulness, made you the kind of self-starter, set you up with some good skills in life.
Yeah, certainly has, yeah.
And then carried on a little bit with the reserves.
Yeah, I was the Liverpool Scottish for a few years. Kept it going, and then in between doing that and then working as well.
Yeah, working as a scaffolder. So your old man gets you into the game. Was it kind of in and around being at school?
No, that was my lad.
Right.
I got him into school. He was 16 when I managed to get him into help me out a couple of days and whatever.
Lead third generation.
That's the one, yeah.
Scaffolder. So it's definitely in the blood. What your first sort of experiences in scaffolding? Where were you working? Palmer's?
Yeah, I started. My dad got me in as a labourer, naturally from the beginning. Didn't know anything about scaffolding at all whatsoever. So I think the first job I had to get 100 long up to the top of the building, and never didn't know what to do, how to get up there and everything. So I had a bit of an experience with that one, which was funny, like so.
Yeah, that was first steps that I remember myself. On I think someone put a post on about Left Bank Apartments. It was in the centre of Manchester, the first big site I was on, and it's like, you don't really see it these days, do you? But just standing long after long after long after long. And then once you stood them all up, you had the privilege of getting on, like you, as the young lad, you're the first one in the chain, which is the hardest part in the chain, because you've got there's no momentum, you're the only set of hands on it, and you're pumping up to the next fella. It's hard craft.
Yeah, it was, I was, especially not trying to pull it up on the rope and everything else, but I had a bit of a technique actually in the end, so unknown to me dad, my dad knew because he was on the top, but he had a pickup, and eventually worked it out. If I tied the rope to the wagon, drive it away, take it up, drive it back down again, and get the long up that way.
Oh, Jesus.
So I managed to do that all day, and no one realising what I'd done.
These little tricks, you couldn't do that these days, could you, bloody hell? So that was Palmer's and various companies around sort of Liverpool area.
That was Palmer's with Northwich, and then I ended up working for a couple of small companies, small firms later on. And then eventually moved. As time went on, I ended up moving to big companies, etc. Yeah. So just kept myself busy all year for the last few years I've been doing it. So.
Yeah. So then, Lee, your son, comes along, goes through school and all the rest of it. You decide, as I guess a lot of dads would do, you're at least going to show them the ropes and teach them what a day's graph looks like. Was this before or after he left school?
This was while he was still in school. I used to say to me, after school he'd come in and I'd go back to work where I was working and then sort of collar him and I'd say, Lee, do us a favour, do you want to give us a hand? And I'll give you some money if you give us a hand. Trying to bribe him as well, trying to get it done. So yeah, he got in that way and then progressed later on. I don't think he wanted to do it being that game, but he ended up doing it and he's stayed
I think
for quite a while. Like.
There was a guest on a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you saw Ant, the guy, he owns a brewing company now. I think the terms he used was you're either born into it or you're roped into it. So I guess with Lee, it was kind of a case of both, wasn't it? It was both born and roped into it. So yeah, obviously the two you work together quite a lot. And it was a relationship that was kind of not just in work and at home and on the tools. There's a social aspect to it and a sporting aspect to it as well.
I was lucky enough to play footy for different teams as well, like over the years. And we played as the main one was like South Liverpool, which I showed you earlier on, the cutting that we had off them. We had a really good write-up.
And made a bit of history, I believe.
Yeah, history makers, father and son playing for South Liverpool, one or two.
Mm-hmm.
So it was
one or two father-son duels at the club.
Sons in the club, so we've done pretty well. So it's not too bad.
Yeah, and you were saying off air as well, you got your coaching.
I got my coaching badge. I'd done it many, many years ago. I got my FA coaching badge. Done that. I ended up doing from running a football team from under 11 right up to open age. And then, as I say, carrying on playing football myself. So.
And we were saying, the skills that kind of teaches you around, having difficult conversations maybe.
Yeah.
We're talking off air, weren't we? I think a lot of the time these days, management, supervision and stuff like that, they kind of don't want to say the necessary things, or they maybe go beat around the bush to get to the point where they'd be coaching. You can't really do that. It's kind of, it's, you're not playing tomorrow and that's it.
Yeah. I think it does it. I think with everything I have done from the army, coaching and work-wise, I think it always has been. If you treat people with respect, it goes a long way. And I think from the football, work-wise, it does work alongside each other type of thing, you know what I mean? So I've been lucky over the years that I have been working and playing football and everything else with like really good people and keep myself fit. Like, so.
You sound like a very active fella.
Not as much now.
Now you got your bus pass.
Now I've got my bus pass, yeah.
All that kind of stuff, it keeps you busy and it definitely keeps you mentally and physically fit, I would say. Some of the sports you were saying that you was into as well, and some of the things that you've achieved outside of scaffolding, I was like, how do you get into these things? We were saying you've leapfrogged, you're the record for leapfrogging.
Yeah, no, it was, we'd done a charity. It was the NSPCC. It was a charity we done many, many years ago. That was run from Halewood, where I used to live. And we had a number of people, 20 odd lads and that, and we leapfrogged up Snowdon to raise money for them.
How does one leapfrog up Snowdon?
It was very hard at the time, right? But
with great difficulty.
Great difficulty, yeah. So it was good. Like we had a good laugh and that. Got a bit wet and cold, but it was enjoyable at the time.
I love Snowdon. It's really does. Every time I've been up there, it's sort of clarity in it. You just the views are unbelievable. Yeah. You got the lake there. It's a really, really kind of nice place. The leapfrogging element of it. Explain what that is. Explain what leapfrogging.
Yeah, well, basically the rules were that was like crouch down and someone had leapfrogging, and they've only got 5 paces to sort of stop where they are, and someone else carries on and carries on and carries on. So that was the rules that we had going up there, and we ended up sticking to it.
So it was a record at the time. Does the record still stand?
I'm not. Do you know what? I haven't looked in the books, to be honest with you. But we got told it was 1 hour 55 minutes and so many seconds. This was going back quite a long time ago. So when I was like 20s, then when I've done that, so it was nearly 40 odd years ago. Then.
All right. Oh, someone's got to be. If you've not, come on. You sort yourselves out. You need to step your game up.
You do it again.
So that was a charity thing for the NSPCC. Seems like charity work's quite important to you.
Yeah, I've done over the years. I've done quite a number of charities for different things. I've run marathons, 10 marathons.
Really?
Yeah, 10 marathons over the years. Yeah, that was the early stages again. I've run 33 miles from Halewood to Southport. That was for handicap centre, raising money for them. I've recently, last year, I've done a canoeing for Zoe's Place, which is a big thing for me. Over the last couple of years, I have been trying to raise money for Zoe's Place because it was a cause that our league supported. And
it was close to his heart.
Yeah, it was close to his heart. So what I've done is basically over the last couple of years, I've been raising money for Zoe's Place.
So what's Zoe's Place, just for the people out there who might not know?
Yeah, it's for basically it's for the children, the light type of thing.
Like a hospice.
Hospice, yeah. So I've been raising money for them. I say anything that I do, it's always been, I've done it, raised the money, but it's always been put in our Lee's name.
Right.
To keep his memory going and things like that. Anything that I do. Even the boxing I was telling you about, I've done the boxing as well. That was in our Lee's name. That was for cancer research. And, I was fighting at the age of, was it 54 when I was fighting. So, yeah, so that was, again, raise money and put in our Lee's name. So,
yeah. I think it's unbelievable what you're doing. And I mean, even coming on having this conversation, which we'll get to later on, in the chat, it's a brave thing, to do and to put the word out. But I genuinely think it's going to do a lot of good. At the end of the day, the reason why me and you are sat here now and speaking is because of that shared experience, and it's reaching out, and it's that ripple effect in it.
Yeah, it was just the conversation that we had. Picking the phone up and speaking to you, taking it from there, and I think that's what it is. It's if you don't pick a phone up and talk to someone and ask the questions, etc., you're never going to find these people or meet these people, and I think that's what you got to do. Yeah,
and I think it's surprising as well the amount of people that do have kind of maybe not the same but similar experiences in their own lives. Very easy at the time when you're going through something difficult, to think. And it is like, it's a very insular sort of time when you think it's just you're the only person going like, and when you do start reaching out and speaking, you find that there are a lot of other people who've been through similar experiences, who've got a story to tell that can maybe.
Yes, I say I've met quite a few people over I say we were talking before, there's quite a few people that you come across and, they've said, being in similar circumstances where you've turned around and said, I've lost someone and all this type of thing, and best amazed, didn't know what to do, and get around it. And I think I'll say that's the problem. I think this is why we're here today, is because the lack of people talking to each other, especially men, especially in our industry, we don't talk. And I think that's where it's, we have a struggle with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we need to sort of
open up channels of communication.
Yeah, especially in our industry, like.
Yeah, I think the tides are definitely turning. I think there was there are a few kind of high profile cases in the media, of people overcoming mental health struggles. I mean, Tyson Fury is probably one of the most high profile, what you'd probably call a success story or a comeback story. And you obviously have the tragedies as well, people like Caroline Flack, that kind of stuff in the media. But the conversation is definitely opening up where, even the mental health first aid course, that was never a thing, was it, when we were?
No.
Certainly when I started out in scaffolding, and I'm sure even more the case when you started out those years ago.
That was the same thing. Made a phone call and ended up talking to a good friend of ours. So we ended up speaking. He managed to get me on there. He said it was a good idea that I'd get on it. And finally, I'm actually a mental health first aider now. So, it's it hasn't been too bad. I've enjoyed doing things and trying to get people involved in what I'm doing and what have you.
Do you find you just say yes and then worry later kind of thing to these, when someone asks you to go on and speak about something?
As in,
say with the mental health first aid, because I know personally, I always had this kind of, I didn't want to make any, about me. Do you know what I mean? When I was, and then when people ask me to do things and say things, sometimes I'd be like, I don't want to make it that sort of this, not sob story, but, I want to try and put some positive energy out there. I want to try and change things for the better. Yeah. But I don't want to be sort of portraying myself in some kind of sub story. So I always found it difficult to speak about things. But that's like, I didn't want maybe people thinking that I was like, woe is me, everyone feels sorry for me. Do you know what I mean? Did you ever feel like that yourself?
Well, with you making a phone, you got in touch with me a couple of days ago, didn't you? And asked me to be on air. I was surprised when you got in touch with me, which I was made up you did, because it's something that I've been trying to get going in a way. There's quite a few things I've been trying to plan. Yeah. There's people that I know that are doing certain things as well, that are doing pretty well with how they've set up. And I just want to try and get something going myself at the moment. Yeah, we spoke maybe some kind of a foundation. Yeah.
I remember when we first started speaking, I'd obviously done this 3 Peaks challenge, and that was a big step for me to be able to actually talk about it openly. I'd never really I don't even think I spoke about it that much privately. Yeah. I was still dealing with it. Do you know what I mean? I was still dealing with the loss of my stepdad. So, it was difficult to open up and have the conversation around it. But then as it gained momentum and gained things, I thought we could really make a difference here. And we were saying we wanted to do something together, weren't we? And keep the conversation going, and whether it would just be like a scaffolding community around suicide prevention and, mental health awareness, or whether it'd just be something wider than that. I know you'd spoke maybe about getting some sort of foundation founded in your Lee's name. I got it started. I had to get a name sorted that was a priority. So I managed to get the Lee Campbell Foundation. So I've got the name and everything else. But unfortunately, I've just been that busy with work and doing different things, and my 60th. I just haven't had time to do it. But as I say, hopefully, this year, I'm going to try and put a big start on it this year. Yeah. And hopefully, I will get this going and plan something, even with yourself, and that will try and get something going, and where we can, try and push something, or try, even if it's a part of another part of something else, and make these, make people aware of what we're doing and why we're doing it. Yeah, definitely. I think it's getting community involved, and I think that's an important aspect of it. And I think that's why I felt like a scaffolding sort of foundation for something similar to what you've mentioned would be a good idea, because obviously, we are in the construction industry. It's a very male dominated environment. I think scaffolding even more male dominated than perhaps other construction trades. And obviously we know that, it's the leading suicide, the leading killer of men under it's the age of 50 in the UK. About 89 men a week taking their own lives. It's horrible, but I think the good thing about scaffolding is it's a team sport. You're working in gangs. There's a lot of people, and we are quite good at coming together during the hard times. You only have to work on an industrial site to see, the scaffolders are always the first to hit the gate. Yeah. So
I think you've always got, the best thing is you got the banter. We've always had the banter together and everything else. Mm-hmm. I think once we're away from the banter, that's when that's where we lose it. Then we don't talk, or we don't even get on the phone to the lads and say, you're a bit down today, or anything. What was wrong with you? You know what I mean? So I think that's where we are.
I think
lacking a little bit. You know what I mean? So,
I think so. I think I was only saying this the other day on another episode. It's that being proactive, as in, we always say it's not, it's okay to talk and all the rest of it. And it's kind of always expecting the person who's going through a crisis, or the person who's going through hard times. We're expecting them to come to us to tell us that they're not okay at that particular time, when, perhaps, and I don't know whether this comes up on the mental health first aid course, but it's maybe being a little bit more proactive encouraging the conversation ourselves rather than waiting for people to come to us. Would you say that's?
Yeah, I think that sometimes it is. You just got to be aware of it. Sometimes you can see it wrong and go, but then you'll take a step back and go, oh, hang on, I've made a mistake here. Shouldn't have really asked them this and that. You know what I mean? So, but I think
difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But if we don't do it, and it could be a time where someone really does need it, and something might happen. God help, but you know what I mean? So,
yeah, it's like you say, it is difficult. And I think, the world we live in now, you can't really say boo without offending somebody. And unfortunately now, offending somebody, you might as well have, punched them in the face or whatever. So I think that can have a negative effect on asking someone if they're all right. Yeah. Because, what are you accusing me or whatever. But I think I'd rather someone get offended and say, no, there's absolutely nothing wrong with me. And like, what you're saying, I'm blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I'd rather them be offended than, take their own life, I
think that's what we don't do.
Yeah. Risk offending someone.
Yeah, I think that's what, some people aren't like that. They won't go up and, they'll laugh and joke with you, but they won't turn around and ask them personal questions. And I think that's where, you need to just step up a little bit and just take that chance and just say, look, because that chance could save someone's life, if you know what I mean. Yeah,
I read somewhere, I can't remember where it was, but obviously I do a lot of reading around the subject. And about actually asking somebody, are you thinking about suicide? Have you thought about suicide? Have you had suicidal thoughts? To say it now, having lost somebody to it, and even probably for you hearing it now, the words, they're not comfortable words to hear, but it's clear language. You're not saying, oh, do you think you might do something, or do you think something bad could happen? You're using direct language, and sometimes that can, you're confronting the issue. You're not beating around the bush, and I think it's having that direct conversation.
Yeah, you've got to be careful how you, I'll say, through the mental health and training and everything else, you've got to be careful how you approach that. And I think with that type of training, which the foundation, what I'm trying to do is to train the lads in the scaffold industry who aren't getting trained a bit of idea of, look, this is what we need to do, and we need to sort of push it forward type of thing.
It is. I mean, it's starting to make a presence on some of the scaffolding courses. I know that on the part one, the COTS course, etc., a lot of the CISRS courses, there's an element on it. There's a little module on mental health awareness, and there's a video. I think it's the campaign's Mates in Mind, which is great. You know what I mean? It's a positive step in the right direction for the industry. I do, however, think that maybe they need to step up and say the person delivering that information probably needs a bit of training, because I know personally, I've got the personal experience of it. I've not actually been on the mental health first aider course.
Yeah,
so what qualifies me, other than maybe a bit of personal experience, but what qualifies me to deliver that message to a group of would be scaffolders on the part one course.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think, as I say, with having this training that I've got now, which I've been in touch with a few people and that, and, got involved that way. People have phoned me up and had conversations, etc. And as I say, I think through experience of like doing that type of thing where I picked the phone up and said, blah, 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 and then hopefully that person's actually come out a little bit better than what he did when he first phoned me, if you know what I mean. So I think you definitely need training in this particular area.
So when you did your training, whereabouts was that? Was it Portsmouth?
No, I done my training online. It was I done the mental health first aid training online.
Oh, was it online?
I done mine
because I remember you saying that Sakub, and Sakub's a friend of mine. I think he'll be on the show. Well, he'll definitely be on the show, because I think he's got a lot of great experience and stories to share. And obviously he's got his own company, former scaffolder, delivering the mental health first aider course. I didn't realise it was an online.
I'd done mine online. I'd done it online. I think I was the only one on construction. The rest of all were rolled down south and worked in the office.
Oh, really? What, for construction companies or?
No, just in general. I just done it online myself.
Ah, right.
So when I've done the course, it was like myself and like a lot of other different people on it who would like from businesses down south, etc.
And did you know that it was going to be Sackup delivering it?
Yeah, he told me. He put me on.
Reached out to you?
Well, no, I phoned him up.
Oh, okay.
And he got me to, he goes, yeah, it's a good idea, get on this course. And I ended up doing the course with him, which, as I say, changed my life. And
did you know him beforehand?
No, it was the same as situation as me and you. I just phoned up and started speaking to him.
Yeah, because I remember he put he'd done a couple of sort of LinkedIn posts, when he'd started the company up.
Yeah.
And so you'd seen one of those, got in touch?
No, it was someone who actually put me onto him.
Oh, right.
So he said, yeah, thingos now. So I phoned him up, but the best thing was he was always there if I wanted to speak to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So he's like one of us.
Yeah.
We started off phone call, next minute, have a chat with him and everything else. I get phone calls every now and again, be on the phone for about half an hour.
Yeah.
How are you and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, which is nice, like some.
Same with me. And the missus is like, who's that?
Yeah.
I'm like, and they go, how do you know? She'll go, how do you know him? I go, well, just through stuff that I put out on social media. He's got in touch and you don't know him? Like, no, just
I've never met him.
Exactly, met him today on a podcast. But I've always got the time for people, and I think as much as I think it's massively important to get the right training and the right the right methods down, and so you're not just telling people anything. I think part of it's just listening.
Yeah.
I think a friend of both of ours, Dave Abraham, he said the same thing. He said, "Look, I've not got the training. I'm not saying I'm a specialist or anything like that, but I'm a good listener. So if anyone ever wants to talk, I'll listen." And I think, it's as simple as that sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't have to be a professor. You don't have to be a psychologist, psychiatrist, or anything like that. I think sometimes people just need to maybe offload a little bit.
Yeah. So I think as well as like listening, the odd message now and again, how you doing, mate? If you see something and, that he doesn't sound right there, I'll just give him a message. How are you? You know what I mean? How are you doing? Or if he sounds like he's down, just give him a quick message. You're all right, pal. You know what I mean? So, but it all comes down to the individual as well. Like, so it's, some people are like, will do it and some people won't. So,
yeah. So I hear this statement a lot, and obviously I knew you were coming on. I don't know whether sometimes I always remember it. It's part of my story, and of having experienced losing somebody. I don't know whether sometimes you just forget about it or you just try and distract yourself from it. Obviously, I knew you were going to be coming on, so I thought, well, watch a few TED Talks or whatever, just to kind of, I don't know, maybe see where we could take the discussion. And there was a lady on, I forget her name, but she was, the message that she was kind of putting out was she believes suicide is preventable. It's a blanket statement, but what is your view on that?
I think, I can see where she's coming. It is preventable, but it depends on the person itself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, the person, if someone doesn't realise what they're going through and they do take their lives, how can you prevent it? You can't really prevent it unless you know something about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's, it's all right coming up with that statement, which is, it could possibly be right. But actually preventing it unless you don't know anything about it, you can't prevent it.
This is what I'd probably say I'm the same as you on that one. I think both of our stories, although they're very similar, there are differences there. There are a stark contrast there with myself. Lost my stepdad in 2010. And there'd been sort of warning signs. Do you know what I mean? There had been warning signs, to the point where he'd rung my mum on other occasions, said he'd taken, tablets. He'd called her on some occasions saying he was going to sit in the car, with the engine running and the kind of hose pipe scenario. My mum sat up with him all night, talking to him and trying, and he just never wanted to get the help. I think because he was a long distance haulage driver, he never wanted to get the help because he thought if something was flagged up about his mental health, he might lose his license or lose his job.
Yeah.
And, you know, his job was kind of his identity through everything at his job. He just threw himself at work. Looking back, you know, was it the right job for him? You know, he spent a lot of time in, you know, vehicles going up and down the motorways on his own with nothing but his own thoughts for, you know, for company. But as I say, there were warning signs to the point where a few nights before he'd called me and said, you know, he was in tears. He broke down on the phone. He was crying. He was, you know, upset. And he said, whatever you do, don't tell your mum. We've spoken. And it's like, what do you do? So I just said, okay. And I didn't. No, I didn't. I just let him deal with things himself. And then obviously, you know, then I think it was the next day, I got a phone call. I was in Chesterfield. I was watching United versus Liverpool. We were 2-0 up at half time, and our Joe had rung me, answered the phone, and was like, hey, you know, thinking it was about the match. And he said, whoa, he said, something really bad's happened. I said, but what is it? He said, it's Lee. He's fucking killed himself. And I was like, and I remember I collapsed to the floor. You know, just completely broke down. And it's so strange. Like the first thing I wanted to ask our Joe is, yeah, but he's all right, innit? I mean, obviously you now in the cold light of day, you're like, well, of course he's not. But it was just complete denial of like, this can't be. It can't be. Yeah, it was a really, really fucking horrible thing to go through. But then I guess your story using your Lee, which again, it's one of those strange coincidences. Your son's called Lee, his stepdad was also called Lee. And the amount of coincidences that we'd spoke about, you know, birthdays and significant dates and all the rest of it. You know, a lot of things bind us together other than just that. But Lee's story was different from that, wasn't it? It wasn't.
Yeah. It was a bit hard to actually get my head around it. Even today, it's very hard like in that. So, I was working on shutdowns. Same, I know Lee was working on shutdown. He was working on Stanlow at the time. I was working on Northwich. And I was working on the Innovum site, and he used to text me and everything during the week and everything else. Everything was, hi, Dad, are you all right? Okay. Anyway, we were working, and he texted me and just said, Dad, booked the table for the Sunday. He said, you fancy going for a meal? Booked it for 5 o'clock. And I said, yeah, smashing. You know, texted back, yeah, smashing. Anyway, last one was 7 minutes past 4. No problems, Dad, I'll see you tomorrow. Never thought anything of it, just thought great. Got home after work, and I and me clobber all ready to go out, you know, for the following day. Anyway, next morning, I get a knock on the door about 7 o'clock in the morning. Family members are at the door. So I looked at, you know, wonder, like, what's going on? Anyway, next minute he come out, said Lee had gone. He died at 3 o'clock in the morning.
No signs,
no signs, no nothing. You know, it was just one of them. Couldn't really find out exactly what caused it or whatever. When I got told, I say, thing was like, I'm 6'1", I'm 16 stone, big, pretty heavy at the time, and I just want to scream the whole street down where it was, Mrs. and that, you know, my stepdaughter, and just woke everyone up, and it literally within seconds of just hit the floor. Just my legs had just gone. So sobbing my heart out and everything else as you do, and trying to ask questions, you know why, what happened, and everything else.
You hear about these stages of grief, you know, and like these denial, and these anger, and these all these things. I've lost my dad. I've lost other family members. With this, that whole range of what people say that you go through, it happened in fucking seconds. It was from anger to denial to fucking unbelievable sorrow.
Yeah.
And it's just, and you know, wave after wave of every step of the process that people tell you tell you it's going to take fucking 10 years or whatever and I'm still going through it now. Do you know what I mean? And you will be as well, I'm sure. Yeah. But yeah, it's just, you know.
I was the same. I was denial and everything. So, you know, I was like, why did he took him? You know, why is he gone? What's he done? You know what I mean? So, I mean, when I was talking to you before about the things I've gone through, yet I'm still here.
Yeah.
You know, why didn't I go? You know, there was a reason. You know, why save him and not me? You know, I just couldn't work it out. You know why the situation came about. And it's very hard to like sort of analyze what's going on that day.
Yeah.
And it was eventually, well, at the end of the day, it was roughly about 4:00, something like that. We sat in the back garden, and I was just trying to get back sort of, you know, calm down, and you know the conditions I was in and what have you. And we were just gently just sitting down. Next minute, I just started rocking, and then within minutes, I was having a severe panic attack.
Yeah,
I was we ended up getting the ambulance out, and I was with them for about 3 hours trying to get me to breathe properly and panic, and I was all sorts. I was all over the place.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, you do these, like I say, these courses and all the rest of it, and I think everything's got a name and an ism and a schism and a, you know, an initial or whatever. But one thing you do hear a lot of, especially with people who've been through the experiences that you have, I have, I guess, is PTSD.
Yeah.
Would you say that that's something that you'd experienced?
Yeah, well, it was only when I'd done the course that they actually explained to me what I'd actually gone through myself. I'd actually gone through ASD, PTSD, anxiety, depression, and believe it or not, I actually suicide myself a couple of times, which my wife never knew anything about it.
Yeah.
She will do now.
Yeah, well, this is it.
Well, know what I mean? So, but I think it's about time it did actually come out, because I've kept that to myself for years, and you know, after Lee going.
Well, if you remember back to, I think it was 2020-ish. It was probably before COVID anyway. And Mark Clark had contacted you to ask you to do a bit of like a seminar. I think it's for Summit Marine.
Yeah.
Scaffolding, just to stand up and talk about your experience and all the rest of it. One reason or another, you couldn't go.
That's right. Yeah. You went in my place, didn't you?
Yeah. So
I was working away, actually, wasn't I?
That's right.
I was down Portsmouth.
Yeah. So Graham had got in touch. He said, you know, if there's anybody I could, you know, think of, because we were speaking a lot about the subject at the time, is there anybody I could think of to kind of go in my place? It'd be you. So I was like, fucking hell. I was like, you know, I'm really, really taken aback by that. But, you know, humbled as well. So I was like, well, yeah, definitely got to do it. And I went and I give this sort of talk to Summit Marine. And the first time I'd never, again, and it's probably the first time anyone else in my own family, which is weird because I managed to say it in front of a group of people, but never managed to say it. I've still, you know, my mum, my brother, sisters, you know what I mean? They've never heard me say this before, but it definitely happens to me as well, because, you know, I at the time when I'd lost my dad the year before, that was, my dad was schizophrenic. So it was like, with him, no idea. Then, you know, I don't know whether he'd taken enough of this antipsychotic medication just to end it all, or whether he'd taken the amount that he'd taken just to stop the hallucinations and the, you know, all the rest of it. So that had happened the year before, and I'm still dealing with that. And then Lee died, really dealing with that and all the rest of it. And to top it off, I decided it'd be a good idea to try and get back with an ex-partner, which never a good idea. So, you know, and then and probably rightly so as well, because to be honest with you, I think I was just trying to get back with her just to make myself feel normal again. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know. You just think I need something to put me back on a path of feeling better again. But she fucking wasn't interested. I was kind of not forcing her to get back with me. But it was like, yeah, I think it was quite clear that we weren't supposed to be together. We weren't meant to be together. You know, we had real problems. That's why we split up in the first place. And I'm trying to get back with her, and I'm dealing with all this stuff of losing people that were close to me. And there's, you know, a couple of times where, you know, to the point where you're thinking about ideas of how you do it, you know, and like, I think I referred to it when I did the talk for Summit as like flirting with suicide. Do you know what I mean? You'd almost thinking, well, if I was going to, how would I do it? And then, so the point of putting things on my neck and you know, and I know for a fact that people who are close to me are going to hear that, and it'll probably it'd probably be very difficult for them to hear, but that's the truth. You do start thinking about yourself and what risk with or not.
Yeah, that was, as I said to you before, when I used to like go to grieving and all that, there's a tree right by him and all that type of thing. I'd often think, I'll just sit here. I'll just sit here and I'm near him, and that's it. I'll just, stay there till late at night and then find me in the next morning, things like that. I just, you get to the stage where you just can't cope with anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And even work, I'll try to sort of get myself back to normality, as you say. But I was actually working all the hours God sends after everything got back to work. And I was working long hours and just basically just thinking about myself. I'll work. I was actually doing myself more damage than what I was actually trying to help myself.
And it was just distraction, innit?
Yeah, that's all it was. Yeah, I was doing that much thing, but it also affected the family as well, if you know what I mean. Close people, my wife and kids and grandkids. You're missing everything. You're pushing everyone aside.
Yeah,
and but you've only got one thing in mind, and that's yourself trying to cope.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't think about anything else. It's like even like getting up in the morning. I didn't want to get up in the morning. I'm thinking, why am I getting up in the morning? Yeah. I've got to face it again. So I'm going through the same thing all the time. I
went in such a fucking downward spiral. With I went into working. I couldn't get back into scaffolding because it was with my mates and it felt weird. And there wasn't really much work around at the time either. But during that whole time when I was, when I just lost Lee, I was just drinking every single night, and all the rest of it as well. I was just on a real downward spiral, and every time I tried to get back into work and distract myself that way, like you said, I was like, why am I here? Yeah. Why am I here doing this shit job that I'm not in? Like, I wasn't enjoying anything at the time. I think culminated around Christmas, and it was just like I really, really, really at rock bottom. I'd been before I lost Lee. I was on Enfield Power Station, just done a shutdown. I had great money in the bank, and then I went to work as a holiday, like a PR club PR in Malio. This was, all before it happened and everything, and I kind of that bit of travel and that bit of having the money in the bank and all the rest of it. It was helping me to deal with losing my dad the year before. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I felt like I was ready to, I processed it. I was like, right, I need to get myself out, I was enjoying traveling, going to work abroad, do this and this. And then losing Lee just knocked me for sick. So every penny that I earned doing the shutdowns, I think I went through about 10 grand in about 2-3 weeks. Yeah. They're just constantly buying everybody in the pub a beer and just completely distracting myself from it. And like I say, got to Christmas. I lost, my stepdad in the September. Got to Christmas, I was penniless. Yeah. Penniless. Yeah. Still had a mortgage to pay. Still had bills to pay. Still had everything going on around me. And total rock bottom. But I mean, sometimes you do need to get to rock bottom to spur yourself on. And I think that's after the Christmas. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need to change things.
Yeah. Well, I would say I went to see psychiatrists and all sorts, and it didn't work for me. In the end, I just turned around and said, "No, sorry, it's not what I want." Mm-hmm. So basically, I just tried to fix myself, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
I ended up trying to do the other way. I didn't drink or nothing like that, but I ended up working. So because of the way I've always been, I just carried on working. So I was working, and then I ended up doing the boxing, which I said to you.
Yeah.
That was around our time, and I was trying to concentrate on that. So I ended up doing the boxing as well as working, fitting all that in. And again, because I was doing everything and just thinking of me, and I've got to get this done, I've got to do that, I want to do this for Ali and all that type of thing. Because it was around not long after he passed away, I ended up doing the boxing that year. So I ended up doing that for charity for him, and then it was sort of the following year, I just sort of went, ugh.
Yeah.
That was it then.
You bottled it up, maybe.
Just, especially right up to Christmas and after Christmas.
And I guess these are the hardest times, aren't they? Because they're the times that you would have normally been together.
Yeah.
Kind of most difficult. Still now, do you know what I mean?
Well, at Christmas time, then Christmas Eve, I sat there from first Christmas, sat there from around 3 o'clock till about 7:30, sitting in the pitch black. So first year, and then I thought I can't leave him in there, you know what I mean? So it was just a horrible thing in there. So I think, as I say, people do different things, different ways, you know, how to get about things. And I think without the family and the backing that I've got now, I probably wouldn't have been here. You know
what do you think has been the most important thing to help you through?
Especially talking for the start off, it's made a change. I mean, at first I couldn't say anything. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to say, you know, I've lost Ali through suicide. You know, that was like a bad way to say type of thing. You know what I mean? So, but now I can talk about it to anyone, and it seems to be it makes me feel better anyway, because now I'm passing it, hopefully helping someone else. You know what I mean? If I can help someone along the lines, if it's one person out of 100 or whatever, I've saved someone, and you know, and hopefully I will try and get something started along the way over the next couple of years or so, and try and keep it going. You know what I mean?
And what would that look like charity events?
Anything? Yeah, I would really want to try and get something going in the next couple of years. Especially want to try and get Ali's foundation going for the start off. That's been a big thing for me, because I just want to keep his memory going. You know, he was a person that was on here, and he's my son, and I want to keep his memory going.
Yeah. So we were talking about maybe doing something. I had this idea of something called SADS, which was Scaffolders Against Depression and Suicide. I think when we did the Three Peaks thing, wrote an article for Scaff Mag, published it in there. I almost felt like a bit of a fraud, to be honest with you, because it never happened. But like you say, things get in the way. I think my own mental health took a bit of a battering. You know, after the Three Peaks thing, we'd raised like £5,000 for charity. And I thought, well, this is going to be me now. I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm going to keep raising money and all the rest of it. The charity that we raised the money for, I don't think I heard of them. You know what I mean? You don't want a pat on the back or anything like that, but I would have been interested to hear from him just to see what the next steps might be, or, you know, if there's anything I can get involved with. It's kind of nothing came back from that. And it was just like, I don't know. It just seemed to like, I actually got in touch with a few people as well during the process of raising the money and everything. And these are people who are like quite high profile, not media personalities, but people who are like, I've got companies who are involved in the suicide prevention, mental health kind of space, and kind of messaged them on Instagram and said, look, I think we're in the same thing. We're fighting the same sort of fight. Is there anything that you could do for, you know, promote us, or we can promote you or whatever? And they, again, like, you could see that the messages had been read, but nothing back. And I'm like, wow. And I don't know. I almost felt like there was a few people who were in that space, maybe to shine their own halo in a sense. And I was really disillusioned with it. So I think that kind of stopped the momentum a little bit, because it was like, you know, I thought we're all in this together. Kind of so that, and then I think starting a scaffolding company, I think that was a difficult one for me, because I realised pretty quickly into that journey that you know, it wasn't, not that it wasn't for me, because, you know, anything to do with scaffolding, it's like what I've been brought up with. It's been my career for 20 years or so. Do you know what I mean? It's you know, but I found transitioning from being at Simeon and being an instructor and, you know, was helping people and assessing MVQ and you know, things like that. You felt like you're doing something for someone. You felt almost valued. And then to running a scaffolding company, it was like, yeah, felt like I'd lost my voice almost.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't the same person. I was just, so yeah, I'm much happier now doing what I'm doing, you know, I'm back in the training, back in the health and safety and the consulting and whatnot.
Yeah.
It does, like, you want to get things off the ground, but sometimes you have to think about your own mental health, I guess.
That's I'd say I'm 60 and still scaffolding, so I'm still plodding on, like, so.
Yeah, I was saying off air, I think there's definitely a future there for you as a scaffolding instructor. I'd like to see that happen anyway. Yeah. I'd definitely like to see that happen. I just think you've got a lot of stories to tell, a lot of knowledge and experience to pass on to the next generation.
Yeah.
So when I was looking for a scaffolding instructor out there, Graham's your man. And you got your coaching badges as well. So, I mean,
coaching badges, yeah.
I think that helps. Like we said, said before, we were saying earlier on the conversation, I think that helps.
Yeah.
So another thing that you mentioned off air, and I know this is like perhaps a strange topic, but as we say, everybody deals with loss, grieving, and everything in their own way. You told me a story off air that I found absolutely fascinating. So from the beginning of that one, you'd had a bit of an accident yourself a few years ago.
Yeah, back in 1999, it was, funny enough, working in Manchester. I had the unfortunate of having an accident. I got crushed by a hoist. Broke up my ribs on my right-hand side. Had a collapsed lung and ended up with pneumonia.
So pretty traumatic, horrific accident there.
Yeah.
You know, kind of lucky to be alive.
Yeah.
As part of the process of dealing with the loss of Lee and everything, quite a while after, I think it was, wasn't it?
Quite a long while.
You know, because obviously the first thing on your mind certainly isn't that. But you went and seen a psychic.
Oh, yeah. I was working up in Barrow, wasn't I? I remember saying to you, yeah. I was working in Barrow in the afternoon to start my shift, set on the week shift.
Is this on the submarine?
Submarine, right. Yeah. So I was up there and I was travelling up. I had to be up there for 2:00, but I went to see the psychic about 11. Went in to see her. She didn't know nothing about me or nothing like that. So anyway, went in to talk to her. Sat down, everything else as you do. This is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do, and everything. As she starts talking, she turns around and goes, "You shouldn't be here." Like, hey,
I should have started too.
I'm going to work after. Hang on. Yeah, you shouldn't be here. I said, you had a fall many years ago. I said, yeah. He said, well, you shouldn't be here. And I went, go on, what are you going to say? I thought something's happened or something. And he goes, you always felt like you were pushed. And I said, yeah, I did. I always did. I always thought I got pushed away from the scaffold.
Yeah, when you told me before, I thought you meant you felt like someone had pushed you off.
Yeah.
Have you pissed off?
You started panicking, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, like you felt like someone had moved you out of the way during the fall.
Yeah, during the fall, yeah. So as I hit the floor, knelt up straight away, not knowing that the damage I'd done inside. Ended up with a punctured lung, which started my lung from bleeding and slowly filling me up with blood. And,
another phone's gone off.
Sorry. Sorry about that.
Fighting music, that. I thought I was going to get a black eye then.
Sorry, I thought to turn that one off. Yeah, so as I've done that.
It's usually me, by the way.
As I was talking and all that, I said, I always thought it was me grandparents who pushed me off, my granddad. I was always dead close to him. And I've been to a couple of psychics before and he'd been mentioned. Anyway, she turned around and said, no, it's not your granddad, it's your nan. I went, hey, beg your pardon? I said, yeah, it was your nan. Said, she's telling me that you weren't due to go. So that was a bit of a shock, right?
And this is like, the psychic that you spoke to didn't know anything about it.
Didn't know nothing at all whatsoever, yeah.
But obviously, I'm guessing the reason was to hear maybe from...
Yeah, I think, because my nan was always, I was dead close to my grandparents anyway. But that brought the next one then. And then she turned around and just started mentioning about our Lee, which again, she didn't know anything about. And she started crying when she started talking to me, and she's grabbing hold of her throat and all that. And she said, "Have you got an older son?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "No longer here." And I said, "Yeah." So she said, "I feel as though I'm choking." So I said, "Yeah, unfortunately, he was found choked," you know what I mean? Which was very upsetting at the time, like trying to deal what I was doing. Anyway, she goes, "Oh, he's not in a good place." I went, "Oh," so I started panicking and everything else. I said, "What do you mean by that?" I said, What do you mean?" He said, "It's you." And I went, "Well, you know." So now I'm sobbing my heart out thinking I've done something to my lad who's not here no more. And then he goes, "No," he said, "He's you." He's saying, "You know, you're blaming yourself. Stop blaming yourself." He said, "Nothing to do with you."
And fucking hell.
So when
so fucking strange though.
Yeah. So, but I've had that many. Since then, I've had that many things and that have happened. Like I sit in the back garden every now and again. I'll have the fire going and everything else, and I just look at the flames and I just say, like, "Lee, give us a sign." Everything else. And I don't know whether I showed you that one, but I've got like a cross and a candle in the flames.
I've not seen that one yet.
Haven't you seen that one? They've got the cross and the candles out. Sorry, and that's got a candle and a cross prominently sticking out in the flames. And I didn't see that till the following day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so that was what.
See, people who know me, they know that I'm fucking super rational. I'll rationalize anything. Oh yeah, it's this, this, and this, and I'll make sense of things using logic. You know what I mean? I think as men, we tend to be more logical than maybe emotional or spiritual. You'd probably call it. But I know for a fact that when I lost my dad, and I've told this story to many people, and I can't explain it, and they can't explain it. I think the skeptics probably think I'm talking bollocks, but genuinely, I was working away in the Shetlands, actually, a place where both me and Lee had worked, up on Solomon Bow.
Yeah.
So I was asleep in my digs, and I have this dream, and I'm in my dad's house, and our Joe was shouting me. He's going, "Isaac, it's dad. So I was like that. And I remember I remember going upstairs in my dad's house. I remember he was in his room, and I had in my arms, I couldn't see his face, but I had in my arms a person.
Mm-hmm.
And I was shouting, screaming down the stairs to our Joe to come up. And so I was saying, "It's dad." Anyway, goes into work the next day, and it was like, it's a fucking harrowing dream. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so all day I'm like, and on that job I was daft as a brush. Do you know what I mean? I was always I was a young lad. Do you know what I mean? But that day was just sat really just distant, and because obviously it had an impact on me. Anyway, it was to the extent where as soon as I got back into the digs, the bus got us into the lights, not the lights, the lights, the pub where we were staying.
Yeah.
And straight to my phone. Couldn't use phones on site. Rang our kid, and he went, "I'm so sorry, Isaac." He went, he passed away. He's dead. He's dead. And I said to Joe, I knew. I was fucking crying my eyes out. I was like, I knew.
Yeah.
He's, "What do you mean?" I knew. And I couldn't even tell him at the time how I knew or why I knew, but I said I knew. Yeah. And then really good bunch of lads up there, by the way. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but if anyone ever see this, the way they kind of rallied round, I think I was like, didn't know what to do. Told one of the lads, went and sat in the pub, got myself a pint, and just sat there with this pint, like completely silent. Within about 5 minutes, the lads had gone, "Right, your flight's booked. Pack your stuff, you're going." Mm. I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, we've got your flight." So within 15 minutes of me having the news, the lads had organised a minibus, got in touch with Cape had organised the flight. I was back out to Broomfield House within the hour, and then flew from there to Liverpool, and our Joe picked me up from Liverpool. went straight to my dad's house, walked up the stairs, and the green blanket from the dream was there. Obviously, they'd taken my dad. Obviously, they'd taken him when they found him, but yeah, it was there. Fucking,
it is. So it's one of them, isn't it? It's hard to believe something. What they can pick up and all that. Not how you accept it.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you are going to accept that answer of them.
It's strange, isn't it? Because he's part of me. My dad is part of me. Do you know what I mean? His DNA is in my body. He's part of me. So when he dies, it stands to reason that part of me has died. And whether we can somehow pick up on that, I don't know. But I guarantee you, and I've told this to loads of people, and skeptics can be skeptics all they want. That happened. 100% happened. Do you know what I mean?
I've had a couple of dreams myself, and I think I tried to grab out a while back. It was a while back. I thought I could see Lee playing football. I was trying to, we were playing football type of thing, and I was trying to grab him. And my wife turned around and goes, "What are you doing?" I said, I'm playing footy with Ali. You know what I mean? I said, I've just seen him there. I was like, he was there right in front of me. You know what I mean? So, just flashbacks and things like that, that you've done or you've been there or something. So, But as you were talking there, there's one thing that you've got to bring up, is that we talk about us working in the scaffold industry. And it was I don't think I really managed to say to the lads that were on there with me when I lost our leg. Because it was a stage, remember I was saying to you, I just lost it. I was supervising, I was taking the job, put the lads to work, and next minute it just hit me, and I just didn't want to be there. And it was only with the lads, the way they were. Once one found out that they all come over, and the way they were, the way they helped me out and everything else. And I think we have got a scaffold industry. We have got a good bunch of lads.
Yeah.
And I think we need to look after each other. This is where it's got to come from. Because if one's down, everyone looks after. Like if everyone walks out, everyone's walking out.
Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it?
It's a strange industry, but we don't talk, and that's where we need to. We're all right doing the other bits and pieces, but we don't talk when we need to. But I think it's not just the scaffolder. I think it's in construction itself as well. Because there's lads out there who have been in the same boat as us, but aren't in the scaffold industry. And I think they need some type of help as well. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. As I said, like I was saying before, my stepdad, with him being a long distance driver, he was in his own head a lot of the time and didn't have that thing around us. I think perhaps that's one of the advantages we have got in the scaffolding industry, is that we are around other people all the time. You can't really do the job on your own. So you have got that kind of advantage of being able to speak to people. And like you've just said there, I've been through a hard time, and the lads have just rallied straight away around. You've been through it. That's the message people need to understand, is that when you open up, people will help you. They will help you. It's human nature.
Yeah.
To want to help people. You don't want to see people suffer. So yeah, I think that's probably the message that needs to go out to people.
Yeah. Lads just need to talk, forget about all this roughy-tufty type of stuff, you know what I mean? With people, we need to talk, we need help. If you need help, talk to someone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, things like that. If anyone wants to talk, gladly talk to me. I'll listen to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And hopefully we'll get something going in the next couple of years, or a couple of years, whatever. And hopefully we'll be able to sort of get this started.
Yeah. So I think lastly, before we cut the episode, I can't thank you enough for coming on. One, because I just think it's such an important message to get out about, promoting positive mental health. And two, just, just how brave you've been to share the story in the detail that you have. And lastly, if anybody does hear this and they want to get in touch with either of us for a chat, please do. If anybody wants to put the ball rolling for some sort of organisation, charitable work in Lee Campbell's name, get in touch with us, and we can keep the conversation going.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Graham, thanks very much.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Isaac. Thanks very much for having me.
Top man.